Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I begin this video, I like to give all praises, all glory, all honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shai, Ba'ashem HaKadash. Give double honors unto the elders and apostles of great men soon, from El Apostle to Hakom all the way down. And shalom to the 144,000 chosen men. Shalom to the elect men, women, and children. Be surely shown grace in these times. This is brother Hanan. I'll come back to it in our next video. And the topic of this video gonna be who's the us spoken of in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. Who's the God and who's the us, right? In Genesis 1 and 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And that God spoken of in Genesis, first chapter, verse 26, is referring to the Elohim. You get that in my sword. This is Genesis 1 and 26. God going back to Elohim, which means rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, powers. So in the beginning, when it say God said let us make man in our image, as referring to Yahweh Shai and 144,000, because the Father was not the one who made everything, as in he made his son made the 144,000, and his son together with the 144,000 made everything else. Because first of all, the Father didn't do it because two things. One, whenever the Father referring to himself, he is always referring to himself. Whenever the Father is making reference to himself, he always makes reference to himself singularly. He doesn't say we or us or anything like that. He says I. This is Deuteronomy 32 and verse 39 to prove that. See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no God with me. There is even the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, and verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, say the Lord Yahweh Shai. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. So we know for a fact it can't be the Father, because if it's the Father, why they say, and I said, let man be made in my image. But I wasn't the Father speaking, I was Yahweh Shai and the 144,000 speaking. Now we know this. First thing first is Colossians chapter 1 and verse 15. You see, hold on. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. I mean, he was made first. Get that really quick in Revelation 3 and 14. And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, these things say the Amen, the so be true, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of Yahweh. So we know the first person or the first spirit ever created besides the Father. So like the first spirit ever created is Yahweh Shai. The Father was not created, he was always here. That's what his names mean. That's what his name means. I am the existing one. I exist. Like Colossians 1 and verse 15. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions, or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and by him all things consist. He is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn of the dead, that all things might have preeminence. We have Philippians chapter 2 from verse 8. No. Salak, no. This is Galatians, hold on, Salak is Hebrews 1. Book of Hebrews chapter 1, I read from verse 1. Yahweh, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, Yahushai, whom he had appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. There's getting AMP. Hebrews 1 and 2. Hebrews 1 and 2. I read from 1. Yahweh, having spoken to the fathers long ago in the voices and writings of the prophets, and many separate revelations, each of which set forth a portion of the truth, and in many ways, as in these last days, spoken with finality to us in the person of one whom is by his character and nature his Son, namely Yahushai, whom he appointed heir and lawful owner of all things, through whom also he created the universe, that is the universe that is space, time, matter, continuum. So what he used Yahushai along with the 144,000 to make everything else. Right here too in Proverbs 8 and 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his ways, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the world was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was, I was brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave to the seas decree that the waters should not pass his commandment. When he appointed the foundation of the earth. Then I was by him, as one brought up with him. I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. So what Yahushai was the first being created, and through him the Lord Yahweh was creating everything else. But not only him, the 144,000 as well. We prove that. Ephesians 1, I read from verse 2. Grace be to you and peace from Power Yahweh our Father, and from the Lord Yahushua Mashiach. Blessed be the Power Yahweh and Father of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, who had blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Hamashiach, according as he had chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by our Shem Mashiach, according to the good pleasure of his will. But the point here is in verse 4, according as he had chosen in us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. And what the Lord now say about Yahweh, say what was just now said about Yahweh Shai in the book of Proverbs chapter 8, he was there before what the foundation of the world. So that would have to mean he was the one creating it. And if the 144 was there before the foundation of the world, they were also there creating it. And we know there was also there in the beginning, because Yahweh Shai said this plainly to his disciples. Is John 17 and verse 26. So, it's 15. Right? So, verse 15. So, John 15 and verse 27. And he also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. And that beginning referring to what the beginning in Genesis. What in the beginning the powers, the gods created the heaven and the earth. So we certain that the God in Genesis chapter 1 is not the Father, and we certainly us is the 144,000. Our God is Yahweh Shai and the 144,000, because what they said in unison. God said, let us in unison what? Create man in our image. This lesson was edifying, and that you were edified, because I say Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kadash. We double honors unto the elders and apostles of great news soon. From the apostle to Hakam all the way down. Shalom to the 144,000 chosen men, the first fruits. Shalom to the elect men, women, and children who be surely shown grace in these times. This was your brother Hanana saying Shalom.